Well, then I'll start by
Go
saying,
ahead. Go ahead.
hey, everybody, welcome back to another amazing episode of the Fast Charging Podcast with BnB. I am Brian,
I'm the bear.
and we're coming to you live simulcast from the two best channels ish on the holes of YouTube's Bears Workshop and My Tesla Live, the second channel for My Tesla Weekend.
And welcome back, everybody. It's been a long week missing all of you, all the thousands and thousands of people that tune in for this show. I don't know how they keep the bandwidth going with how many people are watching this.
Yeah,
But,
they're going to start billing us at some point.
oh, absolutely. I couldn't see how that couldn't happen.
So we should just get into it. Do you know there's an electric Porsche Boxster prototype, which reveals the charging port, and it's got a frunk.
That's awesome that it has a frunk, unlike so many other cars that miss the boat on that.
Very strange that Kia can't figure out how to fit more than a sandwich under the hood.
I don't think a sandwich would fit. At least not like a New York hoagie. Absolutely not. Uh, yeah, the Nero I've looked under recently, the EV6 recently, and I know about the Ionic 5. There's no room for a frunk, not at all.
Yeah, it's um, missing the boat. I think is the absolute correct take on it because what are you doing? You know?
Well, apparently they don't know where to put all the equipment that you have to have in there for an EV because it is loaded full of stuff. Loaded.
Yeah, yeah, and well, a lot of people don't use frunks. Well, they certainly don't use yours. If you make it so it can't be used, then they're not going to use it. And when we went from Austin down to Brownsville, there was four of us in a Model Y, and all of us had all of our luggage. And I had my bag and a backpack. Uh, and Brian Goff brought all of his production gear. So we had a lot of stuff. And Ed was with us. He had all his photography gear. We had a lot of stuff. And four grown big dudes, and we fit in a Model Y comfortably.
Yeah, and I agree with that. My Model Y is spacious. I mean, it's not the most spacious thing in the world, but it's definitely adequate. And the frunk is decent size. Um, you know what? Even the new Corvettes have a frunk, and they're still gas powered, and they have a frunk.
Yeah. So somebody's missing the boat. Mercedes has got a new CLA to rival the Model 3 from 2025. And unlike other Model 3 rivals that borrow inspiration from Tesla, this grille look familiar?
Yeah, yeah. It looks like a Y. It looks like a mach E. It looks like a lot of things. Um, but I'm sorry. Did you say this is gonna match the Model 3 in 2025?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so what do you think the Model 3 will look like in 2025?
Oh, so you're telling me that benchmarking on a car that's 5 to 8 years old might not be the best idea?
Probably not. Probably not. Yeah.
And do you think this will be under 40,000?
No.
No.
40,000 what?
40,000 what? Yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's got 800-volt architecture, can charge up to 350 kilowatts.
Did they say it's going to be under 40,000?
Well, no, but if you're targeting the Model 3, you kind of need to be.
True. True. Because I don't think a gas CLA is under 40,000.
No. Scroll down and look at the silver prototype they're showing. That's pretty.
No, that's a Hertz ad. Sorry. Oh, geez, that's not a CLA though, is it?
No. No, and it's also a car that you'll never get. That looks to me like a Mercedes Fisker.
Look who had a baby.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it'll be industry-wide shift to volume means Mercedes won't ditch the small car. I mean, that's great. The EQE SUV will be upwards of 90,000 pounds. Or euros?
In weight?
That's a pound.
In
Yeah,
weight?
maybe. Maybe.
Well, that's going to challenge the Hummer.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it'll be about the same in weight. Uh, any other new EVs coming out?
Yes, yes, yes. It looks like the EV9, which is going to be the Telluride, uh, is the range was announced 336 miles of range, but that is WLTP. But I'll tell you, the Telluride is pretty much a full size SUV. So if they're getting 300 on a full size SUV, I mean, that's not bad. It's 3 rows of seating, of real seating, not Model Y third row.
Right. It's a 76 kilowatt hour battery pack. That should tell you what you need to know about the range.
Yeah,
It's probably going to be low 200s for something that size.
that is pretty small for that size. You'd think that they would have enough room. If you can put
They
a
have
hundred,
enough room. It's cost and weight, I think that's the issue, and supply.
so just trying to make it a little incompetent, and just
Yeah.
because just because of cost. What is the cost? Have they put that out yet?
EV9?
Yeah.
No, but I assume it'll be competitive. Everyone is willing to lose money on their EVs to remain cost competitive with the leader, Mary Barra.
Mary Barra. You know who's not willing to lose money on EVs?
No, who?
The dealers.
Oh boy, that's it's fun because Ford is losing $20,000 for every EV they sell. Meanwhile, the dealers are marking them up 10, 15,000. That's
Yes.
half of the loss right there.
Yeah. It is kind of strange the way that kind of works, doesn't it?
Yeah. 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 Well, so this other Kia link you sent over has a really neat render on it. I love it.
Ah,
You know what it reminds me of is those four-wheel AMCs they had in the 80s where they just decided every vehicle is a four-wheel drive off-roader, even our little cars. Do you remember
yeah.
those?
I do remember those, but this is actually much cuter than that.
Much cuter. Much
Yeah.
cuter.
But I thought it was just funny. I picked this article because of it's got carpets made of recycled fishing nets. Do you think they still smell like fish?
Yeah, I think that's a selling feature for many buyers.
Because it would be for me.
Hmm.
You sit down and you're like, I feel like I'm in a strip joint, you know?
Yeah, it's a real fishy wagon.
Yep, yep.
That's very classy of us.
Yeah, wasn't it?
I think so.
What do we have to
Hey,
lose?
so speaking of Ford losing billions, they've decided, you know what? We should be thought of as a startup. All those years we kept saying, any day now we can just flip a switch and become the new guys. Well, it turns out that wasn't the case. They're losing billions a year, but the good news is next year they plan to lose even more.
This is AP News
Oh.
Minute.
But
A lawyer
someday
for
we'll
Donald
become
Trump has been
profitable.
ordered to
Maybe in
give documents to
2026.
prosecutors in the investigation of classified records at
I
Trump's
just got
Florida
an ad
estate.
popped up and
The
it won't
Justice Department
shut
is
up.
investigating why the former
Oh, that's
president
great.
and his representatives
Yeah.
have resisted
Yeah.
demands to return the record.
I noticed on your chat, Deep said, I shorted Ford today. I can't blame you. I don't engage in derivatives and options. I consider that too risky for my tastes. But yeah, it's. Ooh. Yeah, last year the pre-tax profit for Model E was minus 40%. Get to a positive 8%. Company needs economies of scale spread across more vehicles sold to be worth 20 points of the improvement. Yeah, it's going to be real tough, you guys. These price wars are dangerous. I once said that I believed the reason the Cybertruck was announced at 39,000 was to trick the competition into coming out with theirs first and losing boatloads of money. Because a full-size truck in EV for 39,000, no matter who makes it, that's going to be tough.
I don't.
And especially we're talking that's the pre-inflation dollars.
Yeah, I don't think Tesla really needed to trick anybody into losing money. I think they were going to do that all on their own. And I don't think Tesla looks at these other companies as like a direct competition. They know that they can be in the future, but they are certainly are not now. Ford's making a decent truck. The Silverado, I mean, that looks kind of awesome, as long as they don't do what Dodge did and take a real truck or a really cool truck and make it into
Wet trash.
I was going to say pile of shit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, Dodge really screwed the pooch on that one. They've got so many trucks sitting on their lot right now. I don't know why they think everybody wants that same design at this point. Why spend the time, the money, and introduction of making something that actually looked pretty freaking awesome and then turn it into what they did? Yeah, I think the Silverado will do decent. The Lightning, I think they do need to change it a little bit more to set it apart as an electric vehicle because it is so similar to a regular F-150 that when you're...
And that is their plan.
Yeah.
That is their plan, is they do have a from the ground up design coming. I was going to say just a ground up design, but it probably is going to be ground up a bit. They hopefully will... without going the cyber approach, I'm not sure how you reduce the weight, but hey man, whatever. I guess they know what they're doing. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm not saying I know what they're doing, or I would know what I was doing if I was doing what they're doing. But still, it does make you scratch your head.
Mm-hmm. John said, well, you buy the truck, but there's a monthly charge for the seats. That's one way to make a profit. Yeah, you could do that. That's a good idea.
BMW and Mercedes style?
Yeah.
You want that heated steering wheel? Here's a subscription to it.
So dumb. Do you know that the Ford F-150 Lightning recall reveals cause? The battery fire.
And what was it? It wasn't a hamster, was it?
Well, there's aluminum tabs may contact the anode, causing an internal short circuit. Oh, really? Yeah, production process deviations at the supplier could cause it to short circuit. I mean, is that news? I mean, if you asked me to guess what it was, that was my guess. Manufacturing process caused short circuit.
Wow, my guess and your guess were like totally different.
Wow, what was yours?
It was a hamster. Didn't I just say that?
I thought there might have been an actual answer in there, but I like yours better. I think yours is more accurate.
Well, I'm just saying because I lost a hamster, so I thought maybe.
Oh, I have some ideas where you can look, but I'll tell you after the show ends.
Okay, I hope there's a diagram involved.
Oh, dear. Do you know new U.S. electric car sales are expected to be 65% of the total by 2030 and 85% by 2035? What do you think of that?
Well, I would like to think about that, but I got an ad blocker thing.
Oh, good.
Let me see if I can get past that.
Based on quicker than expected moves to electric, a leading provider of data and analytics to the energy industry says 65% by 2030, 85% by 2035. Yeah, it'll displace 2.7 million barrels of oil a day by 2030.
Is this for the world or?
No, I believe this is just for the U.S. market.
Okay.
Yeah. Worldwide, I think it's going to be even more. I've got a video coming up about... I encountered this very, very hostile individual on Twitter
who
had enough followers that I was like, all right, I'll engage your crazy, crazy pants. And she was saying, I will never buy an EV. And I said, unless they take your license away, you will. She said, no, because I don't live in stupid California. Oh, dear. Well, there's 7 states that have already put their 2035 bans in place. More are expected to follow. But think about the rest of the world. Everybody's got bans by 2035, 2030 to 2040. Even India's going all electric by 2040. All these countries are the places that they design and build cars. It's going to get harder and harder to find new gas cars. And what you'll be buying in 2040 is a 2025 model that just hasn't been updated. They're just still building it.
Yeah. And honestly, when there's such a low demand for gasoline, you think the prices are going to go up or down?
Economies of scale work in both directions.
Yes.
So not only are they going to stop developing new technology for your internal combustion car, the parts for it are going to get more expensive. Your ability to get replacements are going to get more. The engines that we used to have to buy to give you your warranty replacement will get tough because that company's out of business.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and I'm sure that the price of gasoline is going to skyrocket with
It very well may.
because at one point, the demand is going to start to drop, and the prices will start to drop with it. But at some point, when the demand gets so low, the prices are going to end up going back up because they're going to stop pulling oil out of the ground. A lot of these companies are going to stop, and there's going to be less of a supply because they are going to transition to other forms of energy to stay alive.
And I think they'll just decide what the price is and keep it at that price, regardless of regardless of how low their costs get. Whatever people are willing to pay for it is what it will cost. Because we've seen a real detachment between the price at the pump and the price of a barrel over the last few years. And when there's overproduction, they just shut down refineries to create artificial scarcity to keep the price high, because that's where they like selling it.
Yeah. And I have noticed over the last couple of weeks, gas prices have shot back up about $1. So at least here in Arizona. So, I'm pretty excited about that.
Of course. I'd be super jazzed.
I love paying more for the same thing, like 25% more in a month. I think that's cool.
It's exciting. So this is kind of a long one. We won't go into it too much, but how long do electric car batteries last? I made a whole video about this last week. The big takeaway is degradation's not linear. As anyone who's owned an EV knows, you get a big chunk of your degradation in the first 6 months. Then it kind of flattens out, kind of, forever. In this article, it's going to be linked in the description after the show ends, but there's so many great charts in it that show how many of them have had to be replaced, how many are still in cars, and the reality is they last pretty darn well.
So they last longer than the batteries in my smoke detector, right? Is that what you're saying?
They definitely last longer than that. And for those who don't know, we had Bear dissect one live on a show a couple weeks back. That's fascinating.
That's what we did, yeah. We took apart a 9-volt battery live.
Live.
I thought it was going to blow up on me or something because I heard batteries are really flammable.
Yeah.
And they just spontaneously combust, unlike gasoline.
Which is so safe and not flammable at all.
Yes.
So yeah, we look at these charts lower down the page, and anyone who's owned an electric car already knows this. Different cars perform differently, but even the poorest performing on the list perform pretty well. Versus, when you buy an internal combustion engine, you will lose range over time. Your gas mileage is not likely to improve. It's likely to get worse over time as the vehicle wears. And and death of a internal combustion engine is not linear. It happens sometimes rather all at once. Yeah. And you can say, well, yeah, but it's cheaper to replace, internals on a engine than it is to replace a whole battery. Okay, great. But once the labor cost hits a certain point, the car's scrapped. It doesn't matter if it's a 5,000 repair or a 20,000 repair. If the car's worth 6,000, you're not doing it.
Right. It's interesting on this EV battery replacement that it says that 1.5% of batteries had to be replaced. But that's a little bit misleading because on the Chevy Bolt, which has a decent percentage of cars on here, like all those batteries had to be replaced because of the fire risk.
So I just looked up 1.5 and it says outside of big recalls like the Chevy Bolt.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So you are correct. Which is great. I mean, it had to happen eventually.
Yeah.
So CATL claims battery materials breakthrough without solid state. I saw a tweet about this, and I had to do some digging to find it. But apparently they are saying that solid state remains on the horizon and it remains over the horizon.
Ooh.
Zhang said the company struggles to come up with a solid state battery that is feasible and competitive. Technology that's being researched by the biggest guys, Toyota, Volkswagen, CATL, which supplies include Tesla, Volkswagen, BMW, and Ford, is the world's largest battery maker, producing more than a third of the sales of batteries for BEVs worldwide. So they're saying we're still not there. And we've seen a number of companies think they could hinge their success on a solid state. I know Dyson assumed it would happen. I've read reports that Apple believed it would happen before they get a car made, and at the rate they're going, it might.
There's a lot of things that might happen before Apple puts out a car.
Heat death of the universe is on that list.
Yeah,
and it's not even at the bottom.
Well, will the metaverse survive the end of the universe?
Oh, you mean Animal Crossing with a headset?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's innovative. We just don't understand, Bear.
We're too old.
Yeah. Toyota claimed they completed solid state 10 years ago, says Steve. Maybe they did, but in a way that can't leave the lab, which is tricky. Daniel says semi-solid only needs a blue pill. Where does a battery get blue pills? Yeah. So, fun times.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, hard times here in Arizona.
Yeah, why's that?
The Electromechanical halts production of the three-wheeled solo vehicle that they were making out here in Mesa, Arizona, not 5 miles from where I sit right now. They built their factory. They used it for a couple months, and they said, When I first saw this, I thought this meant that the company was closing down. But no, what it means is that they can't make these cars in a profitable way with the way that they are, and apparently don't have the demand. But I know that there's a lot of people out there who still want them. So they're going to sell their remaining cars. It's like 800 or 900 cars, and they are going to focus on four-wheeled vehicles. And that means we are looking at another couple of years before they start making anything worth buying.
It's unfortunate.
Yes.
The 800, 900, that's how many they have made that they can't sell. To me, the problem is that it's a one-seater. I will not buy a one-seater, not even for fun weekend runaround. I'd still want the Polaris Slingshot or the, what's the other one you have? The
Venice.
Vanderhall. It's so cool looking. This is just me by myself.
Yeah. I'm all alone. No
At least
one
I'd have an
here beside
excuse.
me. Yeah.
Every show I've been to had a Electromechanical solo exhibit where they had ride and drives where you could go around the block, and they had dozens of them available, and people were riding them all day, and it just didn't translate into sales.
No, it did. They do have reservations that I think they're going to be able to fill with these extra 900 or so. And once they do that, they're just done with it. They've just realized that they're not making a profit on them. They definitely have a place. The U.S. may not be the place for it. That maybe it would do better in China. And they were having them built in China, and then those got a recall recently, which I think that there might be issues getting those fixed. So they're just apparently ready to move on and go with their Project 4, is what they're calling their new four-wheeled electric vehicle.
Yeah. I hope they survive. I hope they survive. The Solo seemed to be remarkably competent for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can't sell them profitably and people don't want them, you got a problem. David points out even a motorcycle holds two people.
Well, that's true. I suppose you could. No, you can't. If you have someone sit on your lap.
No.
I mean, I drove one. Yeah, there's There's nothing that can be done besides some straps and the roof, and I have a feeling that's going to be deemed
Probably.
inappropriate.
Probably not the safest. And our last big story of the week, Aptera secures first fleet order for 101 solar EVs with intentions for 100,000 more in the future.
Is that
And
a
to answer the question in the
is that a
pre-show
render?
chat, yes, it is definitely a render. They have not made that many.
I didn't think that
and
they
built.
have.
No. It's. I don't doubt that this order is helpful and important, but to me it doesn't mean anything. The question is, can you get to volume production profitably? Because if you can't, it doesn't matter how many you build, you're just losing money. And if you can, this order is this 100 order is going to look silly because the 100,000 order would absolutely be right behind it if the price is as low as they think it will be.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm excited for Aptera. Aptera's got some of the most passionate fans I've ever seen. But none of that matters until we can get to production.
Yeah, I still think they look like a horseshoe crab. Just black out those windows
Cool.
and put a spiky
don't-
tail on it.
I don't see anything wrong with that.
Horseshoe crabs are scary.
Yeah. And these are, when you see them in person, man, they're cool.
Yeah,
They're
bigger than
They
like
steal
you would
the
think.
show. Yes, they have way more cargo space than
A solo.
than you would think. Somebody in the chat might throw down the cubic feet of cargo, but you got to consider the Miata was a two-seater. It had no cargo space and it was extremely popular. This is way more eye-catching, a bit more fun, even if the wind isn't in your hair, but it's just really eye-catching. So, yeah, Jeff says more like a pterodactyl head. Oh, and Digital Blade Canada points out, because of the length of the cargo space, you can sleep in it.
Really?
You can camp. Yeah, you can camp in it. Put your feet at the back, because that whole back section is a big flat area.
Nice. Definitely wouldn't want to bring a black light in there after that. We were talking about that earlier.
Oh, I would. Oh, I definitely would bring a black light in.
Look, it's a Van Gogh. Yeah.
More of a Jackson Pollock, but all right. I understand your point.
Yeah.
Any
Right.
questions for us? Because we are doing the 30-minute version today. Tomorrow we are going to be talking. There were some comments in your chat about Lucid, and tomorrow we're doing a whole show about Lucid and can it survive? Is it doomed?
Yes,
for Lucid?
that show will be airing tomorrow at whatever time that we randomly pick, which we'll decide later.
Yeah, I think we did noon last time, but it doesn't matter. Oh, MD Hofsty says I'm slacking again. Yeah, but hey man, I gotta do what I gotta do. And the reason we're not doing the 60-minute versions is because we're trying to do some different stuff. A lot of people will not watch a 60-minute show on a replay, and I've only got 40 viewers, so it's
That's it, man. I'm kicking your butt. I got 22, which is like 3 times 40.
Yeah, that's some GM and Ford math right there.
That's where I learned it. That's funny that you mentioned that.
Yeah. Hiking Lang says, spoiler, Lucid's doomed.
No, really. Watch to the end.
You won't believe number 7.
Yeah.
Mark on your channel said SpaceX launch tomorrow. Yeah, they're doing a few of those. The other day they launched 2 within 4 hours and 12 minutes of each other, and 3 over 3 days, all successfully.
Yeah, I think if they had more launch pads, they could probably break their record.
I think if they had, and they would also need more barges on which to land them.
To catch them. Yeah, well.
But that's easy.
I'll catch one.
Well, they do have access to 2 different pads at Kennedy Space Center.
Yes, and then they have
Slick 40, and I don't remember the other one next to it.
Yeah, I don't know either, but then they have the one at Vandenberg, which sometimes I get to see the exhaust plume of that.
Neat.
Oh,
They
It is really
That's for the
neat.
Polar launches. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it's 39A and 40, I believe. Yeah, it's something like 80% of all payload to orbit this year will have been delivered by SpaceX. And Blue Origin still can't get to orbit.
With their flying penis.
The penis was never meant to go to orbit. They've got a much more slender wang
I know.
for orbital purposes. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to call that one Ron Jeremy, I believe.
Oh dear. Well, hopefully it doesn't suffer the same downfall
Yeah, it's
as
true.
the hedgehog, or whoever that might be, whom I've never heard of.
That
For I am
hedgehog. Wow.
quite innocent.
I've never heard of that reference before. And I'm not going to look it
really?
up either.
Oh, you should not look it up. It's terrible. All right. Well, let us know in the comments. What do we miss? What do we misunderstand? We had
Well,
a great show
you know what we
here,
missed?
totally.
We missed thanking our
Oh, yeah.
Patreons.
Oh yeah, thanks.
Thank you,
guys.
Patreons.
I forgot to put that up. How dare I? The nerve. Mine's a little out of date. I got to add 3 or 4 onto this page. I have thanked them directly, but I want to get them on the list. So very cool stuff. Thanks to everybody for hanging out, and we'll see you tomorrow. I don't know, at whatever time we put that video up.
Yeah, whatever
About
time's
Lucid.
good for us. All right.